No, I don't think you should tear down the police force whatsoever for one person or several police officers doing something wrong and hurtful like that. I think what they need to do is really evaluate their system and stop doing certain things and re-educate their police officers.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. Well, folks, I'm in the riding of St. Paul's, and recently the councillor here, Josh Matlow, was making some news. You see, suddenly Mr. Matlow thinks it's a good idea to defund the Toronto Police Service by some 10%. And now that works out to $120 million taken out of the police service's budget, given that the annual budget is $1.2 billion. This is what Josh Matlow said in a tweet. We need to wrest control of the Toronto police budget, defund it by 10%, and rebalance our public funds towards investing in much needed community supports. And naturally, the motion was seconded by Kristen Wong-Tam. You know, she's the one that wants infrastructure projects put through a gender lens. But the question remains, what exactly does Mr. Matlow want to do with this reimagined police service? Have that money go to community workers, social workers, anti-racism advocates? How does that help reduce crime when you gut the police force? Well, we're here in Josh's riding. We're going to ask some people what they think about this proposal and see if it makes sense at all. We're just here, we're asking people what they think about the local councillor, Josh Matlow, wants to defund the police by 10%. Do you think that's a good idea?
Wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Okay then?
Absolutely wrong. Leave the police alone. They're doing a fabulous job here. I know for a fact. I've been involved with them.
No, I don't think you should tear down the police force whatsoever for one person or several police officers doing something wrong and hurtful like that. I think what they need to do is really evaluate their system and stop doing certain things and re-educate their police officers.
You know, I'm not really sure if it's a good idea or a bad idea. I don't really have enough information myself to comment. I mean, obviously I don't want to see what we're seeing in the States. I don't want to see that here, but I'm not sure how it's connecting with the funding.
I'd like to see less bullying, less abuse of the police. I'd like to see that.
You'd like to see less
abuse of the police power.
Right.
I don't think cutting the budget is a great thing, but I rather see less police brutality, that's all.
Is that a good idea? Do you think that affects crime in a good way or a bad way in terms of having less cops on the beat?
I think it would be in a positive way. I feel like defunding the police is something I'm completely for because it puts less pressure on the police to do all these other jobs that they're not exactly qualified to be able to do. So I think by taking funding away from that a little bit and putting it towards more social workers and stuff like that, they can provide better care to the people who actually need it in the city and focus more on the really important stuff that the police need to be doing.
I applaud him 1,000%. Absolutely. You know, it's you know, stop the problem before it starts. Help these kids. Help the lower income kids.
If he's dropping it by 10%, I don't think that's probably the best idea, especially up here in Canada. If there's like something going on down in the U.S., it does affect us and it does affect like the situation that's going on people there as well. But I don't really think that they should have dropped it down 10%.
I don't know. I realize this is a big issue in the States.
Yes.
I can't see one way or the other it having any effect here.
And we're wondering, having less cops on the beat, would that be a plus or minus in terms of ensuring safety in the community?
That would be definitely a minus.
We're just asking people today about Josh Matlow. He's the councillor here who wants to defund the policing budget by 10%. Do you think that's a good idea?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Not sure?
They're overworked, some of them are underpaid. It just all needs to be changed for them as well. As everything else has to be changed, they have to change. And I think that's where the energy should go, not taking money away.
Well, he says he wants to hire more social workers and have less cops. Do you think that would have a good impact on crime?
No, we can start calling him comrade then, if that's the case.
It's clear that there's a problem within the system and that cops are taking it too far and not doing their job properly, at least in the places that it matters. And I do think that by funding other things like social workers, they can provide better care to people who maybe aren't very good, like mental health wise, the type of people that might commit homicides or need extra support or rehabilitation.
I'm just wondering if he's being driven more about the terrible event that happened in Minneapolis as opposed to problems in our own Toronto Police Service.
Well, I think it was a wake-up call, but let's face it, I honestly would not want to be young and a black male in this city.
But you'd like to see the police remain intact. You don't want to see less cops on the beat.
Oh, I'd see more.
Okay.
I want a police officer. You need it. There's just too many people where like the population is expanding so fast. You need police officers to create form and to create, safety, period.
Shootings, and you hear all sorts of things. You take the police officers off the streets, how are you going to ensure the safety of civilians?
We do have a black police chief, although he did announce his resignation today. But does that not poke a hole in the whole idea of systemic racism?
You know, Mark Saunders has never been a supporter of the Jamaican community. I have good Jamaican friends who have been actively involved in the community. He's never come out to any of their events. He's never participated. He might be black in color, but that hasn't solved the problem, and it's not going to go away overnight. We have to understand that we have low-income kids that really need help. You know, in terms of maybe more music programs, more camps for them, more all sorts of things.
Well, there you have it, folks. I mean, there are a few people in support of Josh Matlow's proposition, but the vast majority of people we spoke to here in Forest Hill, they don't think it makes sense that less cops equals a safer community. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, if you like Rebel News, you're gonna love Rebel News Plus. Like the name entails, you get an extra bang for your buck. You'll get Ezra Levent Show, Sheila Gunn Reid Show, and of course my show every Friday, Rebel Roundup. Please go to rebelnewsplus.com, sign up, and never miss another Rebel News video.